Welcome to the review of related literature, presented to you by Exlene P. Disanieza. Let's take a look at the objective of the review of related literature. It's for us to create a readable synthesis of the best resources available in the literature for an important research question or a current area of research. Conducting a literature review helps you build your knowledge in your field. What is a literature review? A literature review is an objective, thorough summary and critical analysis of the relevant, available research and non-research literature on the topic being studied. Its goal is to bring the reader up to date with current literature on a topic and form the basis of another goal, such as the justification for future research in the area. A good literature review gathers information about a particular subject for many resources. It is also well written and contains few, if any, personal biases, and it should also contain a clear search and selection strategy. A good structuring is essential to enhance the flow and readability of the report. Let's take a look at the further definition of what a review of related literature is. It gives involvement with the systematic in identification, location, and analysis of documents containing information related to the research problem. The term is also used to describe the written component of a research plan or report that discusses the viewed documents. These documents can include articles, abstracts, reviews, monographs, dissertations, and other research reports, and electronic media. The literature review has several important purposes that make it well worth the time and effort. And also, if we are talking about literature review, it provides us an understanding of the background of the field, identifying which studies are important and which are not to put together your own understanding and idea of the study. Gathering information under the literature review is very important because you yourself will be needing to understand what you are looking for. You will have to understand the study and as well as understand the resources that you are looking for. A literature review can take different forms and serve significant different purposes. Writing a literature review is not usually a linear process. Authors go back and check the literature while reformulating their ideas or making adjustments to their study. Sometimes, new findings are published before a study is completed and need to be incorporated into the current work. This also means that you will not be writing the literature review one time, but constantly working on it before, during, and after your study is complete. Let's take a look at the steps that will help us begin and follow throughout the literature review. Step 1. Choose a topic to write about. Focus on the topic or focus on and explore this topic. Choose a topic that you are familiar with and highly interested in analyzing. A topic your indeed readers and researchers will find interesting and useful, and a topic that is current, well established in the field, and about which there has been sufficient research conducted for a review. This will help you find the sweet spot for what to focus on. Step 2. Research and collect all the scholarly information on the topic that might be pertinent to your study. These include scholarly articles, books, conventions, dissertations, and theses. These and any other academic work related to your area of study is called the literature. The third step, let's analyze the network of information that extends or responds to the major work in your area. Do not forget to select the material that is most useful. Use thought maps and charts to identify intersections in the research and to outline important categories. Select the material that will be most useful to your review. Step 4. Describe and summarize each article. Provide the essential information of the article that pertains to your study. 2 to 3 important concepts, depending on the length of your article, that are discussed in the literature, and take note about all the important aspects of this study because it would be very relevant to your topic being reviewed. Step 5. Demonstrate how these concepts in the literature relate to what you discovered in your study, or how the literature connects to the concepts or topics being discussed. In a literature review for an article, this information may include a summary of the result of methods, or it could be from the previous studies that corresponds to or confirm those sections in your own study. Step 5. Demonstrate how these concepts in the literature relate to what you discovered in your study, or how the literature connects the concepts or topics being discussed. We also have to discuss unaddressed issues in previous studies. These studies that are missing something that you address are important to include in your literature review. In addition, those works whose theories and conclusion directly support your findings will be valuable to review. Step 6. Identify relationships in the literature and develop and connect your own ideas to them. This is essentially the same as step 5, but it is more focused on the connections between the literature and the current study, or guiding concepts or arguments of the paper, not only on the connections between the work themselves. Your hypothesis, argument, or guiding concept is a golden thread that will ultimately tie the works together and provide readers with specific insight they didn't have before reading your literature review. Make sure that you know where to put the research question, hypothesis, or the statement of the problem in your research paper, so that you will be able to guide your readers logically and naturally from your introduction of earlier work and the evidence to the conclusions you want them to draw from the bigger picture. Your literature review will not only cover publications on your topic, but will include your own idea and contribution. By following these steps, you will be telling a specific story that sets the background and shows the significance of your research. You can turn a network of related works into a focused review of the literature. Let's try to look at the illustration of the golden thread. This is what we call to identify the relationship in the literature and connect your own ideas to them. You will be focusing on the connections between the literature and the current study or guiding concepts or argument. Your hypothesis, argument, or guiding concept is what we call the golden thread. The ideas that you've gathered from the literature review that you have read will be connected to each or to one of each other. It will be a connection in which, from one article, a book, or a journal that has been read will be connected to another article that you will be reading in the future. What are the importance of an RRL or a review of related literature? First, it is for us to determine what has already been done that relates to your topic. This knowledge not only prevents you from unintentionally duplicating another person's research. This is for us not to copy other people's work and to avoid redundancy. It gives you the understanding and insight you need to place your topic within a logical frame and tells you what has been done and what needs to be done. Previous studies can also provide a rationale for your research hypothesis, and an indication of what to be done can help you justify them, especially in your study. Another important purpose of reviewing the literature is to discover research strategies and specific data collection approaches that have been or have not been productive in investigations of topics similar to yours. This information will help you avoid other researchers' mistakes and profit from their experiences. It may suggest approaches and procedures that you previously had not considered. We have to make sure that we learn from other researchers' mistakes in order for us not to commit the same mistake as well. Let's try to look at this illustration of an example. Suppose your topic involved a comparative effects of a brand new experimental method versus the traditional method on the achievement of the 8th grade science student. The review of related literature might reveal 10 related studies that found no differences in achievement. Several of the studies, however, might suggest that the brand new method may be more effective for certain kinds of students than for the others. Thus, you might reformulate your topic to involve the comparative effectiveness of the brand new method versus the traditional method on the achievement of the subgroup of 8th grade science students, especially those with low in aptitude. As what our professor has always been telling us, has been emphasizing, that upon reading your literature review, there would be tendencies of reformulating, restructuring, or revising your research problem, depending on the literature that you are reading. What is a systematic literature review? The purpose of a systematic literature review is to provide a complete list as possible of all published and unpublished studies relating to a particular subject area. It is also it is different with traditional review that attempt to summarize the result of a number of studies. Systematic review use explicit and rigorous criteria to identify, critically evaluate, and synthesize all the literature on a particular topic. The primary purpose of this article is to provide the reader with a comprehensive background for understanding current knowledge and highlighting the significance of new research. It can inspire research ideas by identifying gaps or inconsistencies in a body of knowledge, thus helping the researcher to determine or define research question or the hypothesis. Equally, however, it can help refine or focus on a broad research question and is useful for both topic selection and topic refinement. It can also be helpful in developing conceptual or theoretical framework. A systematic review should feature the time frame within which the literature was selected, as well as the method used to evaluate the synthesized findings of the study in the question. Sir Craig has always been emphasizing the timeliness of the research. As much as possible, we have to make sure that everything, especially in reviewing a literature, the span of time or the time frame of the literature should be at least 10 or 5 to 10 years, not more than that, in order for us to be able to gather an accurate and relevant data. In order for the reader to assess the reliability and validity of the review, the reviewer needs to present the precise criteria used to, first, order for the reader to assess the reliability and validity of the review. Reliability is very important when you are having a literature review. When you're trying to find a sources or resources or references, you have to make sure that the authors are credible enough. The reviewer needs to present the precise criteria, set inclusion or exclusion of criteria. We have to make sure that everything that we'll be reading or that we have read will not be all included in our literature review. It doesn't mean that more is better, but a smaller literature review is better if it is specifically, concisely done. Select and access the literature. Assess the quality of literature includes in the review, and analyze, synthesize, and disseminate the findings. Let's try to look at the familiarization of other research. Being familiar with previous research also facilitates interpretation of your study result. The result can be discussed in terms of whether or how they agree with previous findings. If the result contradicts previous findings, you can describe the differences between your study and the others, providing a rationale for the discrepancy if your results are consistent with other findings. Your report should include suggestions for the next step. If they are not consistent, then your report should include suggestions or studies that might resolve the conflict. The researchers often have difficulty determining how broad literature review is or should be. They understand that all literature directly related to their topic should be reviewed. They have trouble determining which articles are related enough, and those are the problems of new researchers like us. There would be a tendencies that we will be confused on how related enough a literature that we are reading to the one that we are looking for, and to the topic being included. Unfortunately, there is no formula that we can apply to solve the problem. We can just base it on our decisions or on our own judgment and the advice of our teacher or, or our advisors. Basically, teachers, professors, advisors are very important, especially when we are doing research, because they do have a broader experience, they do have a much experience or a more informations regarding a certain topic or regarding about a research. Guidelines that could assist us in using ARL or the review of related literature. Let us avoid temptation to include everything you find in the literature review. As what I've mentioned a while ago, bigger doesn't mean better. A smaller, organized rather review is definitely preferred to a review containing many studies that are more or less related to the problem. When investigating a heavily researched area, review only those works that are directly related to your specific problem. Let's stop the process of looking for a topic that is really not significant to our study. The topic that are not relatable to our problem. We also have to make sure that we'll find plenty of the references and should not have to rely on less related studies. For example, the role of feedback in learning has been extensively researched for both animals and human beings. We will be talking about the feedback in learning. For verbal learning and nonverbal learning, and for a variety of different learning tasks. If you were concerned with the relationship between frequency of feedback and chemistry achievement, you would probably not have to review the feedback studies related to animal learning. Since we know for the fact that the animal learning would fall out or would fall under the nonverbal learning, but basically we're not going to focus on it. We have to focus on the relationship between the frequency of the feedback and the chemistry achievement. When investigating a new little or research problem area, review any study related in some meaningful way to your problem. You'll need to gather enough information to develop a logical framework for the study and a sound rationale for the research hypothesis. Let's try to look at some of the misconceptions about among beginning researchers like us. It is that the worth of a topic is a function of the amount of literature available on it. For example, there would be many or new important areas of research, few studies have been published. And those are the problems that a beginner researcher would encounter. There would be a lack of research or very lack of such research often increases the worth of its study on the other hand. And the fact that 1,000 studies have already been done in a given problem area doesn't mean that there is no further need for us to research in that area. When Professor Craig or Sir Craig mentioned about the review of related literature, we were given an idea that it's really not about the title of your research. It would be all about the RRL or the review of the related literature. It is actually the foundation of what we are going to make. Because it doesn't mean that there has already been 1,000 studies that have been made or done. It doesn't mean that we don't need to search on that area anymore. Because 5 to 10 years ago doesn't mean the same respondents as today. 5 to 10 years ago doesn't mean the same environment. So it's okay to have that same research as long as it is timely. Searching and selecting appropriate article. The next step after selecting a topic is to identify in what structure you are going to make it. The appropriate and related information, a systematic approach is considered most likely to produce a review that will be advantageous in notifying practice. The comprehensive and relevant are what reviewers need to consider, and the more specific the topic or the question being searched is, the more focused the results will be. As a researcher, we have to be very specific on what we are looking for because in the media or in the internet world, if you are going to search a particular topic, you will be given a lot of options and there confusions begin. So the more specific you are, especially with what you're looking for, it's actually the better. The types of articles that are selected for a good review of literature are theoretical presentations, review articles, and empirical research articles. Choosing the work of a single researcher may be one method for starting a literature review. It is very important to fact or to read works of a single researcher. That means that that is a simple research. Um, let's try to look at some research that are not complicated in order for us to be able to start our literature review. Our presentation will be more powerful if conflicting theoretical positions and findings are presented, along with the position or prediction that you support in your paper. There will be tendencies that some conflicts occur in a research paper. And the moment we do present also the findings or the theoretical positions, it would be a very good support paper on what we are looking for. We should also choose several researchers' work. We have to consider the research of a lot of people because we will be learning from it. And added to it could give or it could add knowledge based in a specific area. We also have to strive to eliminate articles that have faulty methods or the use of faulty reasoning to support their findings. We know for the fact as professionals that there are findings that we might think is correct, but the more or the further you read an article, there would be contradictions. There would be a lot of conflicts that will occur. So we have to be very careful on the methods or on the literature that we're looking for in order for us to be able to avoid the faulty methods that was already encountered. Let's try to look at the analyzing and synthesizing the literature. After you have collected the article you intend to use in your literature review, you are ready to analyze each one, break it down, and identify the important information on it, and then synthesize the collection of articles, integrated them, and identify them which can be drawn from the article as a group. We have to make sure to analyze what we are reading. We just don't need to copy paste, then cite everything. We have to make sure to analyze all the literature review that we're making in order for us to be able to identify the most important information. Initially, it is advisable to undertake a first read of the articles that have been collected to get a sense of what they are about. First read the article. For example, an article might seem relevant or connected to what your research problem is, but at the end point or at the bottom line of it, it is not relevant. So we have to make sure that we read first the article. Most published articles contain a summary of abstract at the beginning of the paper, which will assist with the process of or enable the decisions as to whether it is worthy to include or it is worthy to read or to be included in the conclusion. At this point, it may also be or it would benefit us to undertake an initial classification and grouping of articles by the type of sources. Therefore, let's summarize the key findings we have taken from the literature and analyze their significance. Let's connect everything back to the primary research question. These are the resources on the report that we had. Thank you.